So we're just about 1 week out from the infamous Acolyte episode 3. Episode 4 is due out tomorrow. And from what I understand from listening to Chris Gore over at Film Threat, episode 4 brings pronouns into the Star Wars universe. So buckle up, people. It's about to get a little testy on the internet as it pertains to the Acolyte. Well, let's get back to episode 3. Fans are united for the most part, and I'm talking Star Wars fans are united when it comes to their distaste, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, for the Acolyte. Simply put, fans just don't like this show. And it shows. Rotten Tomatoes right now, as of Monday, June the 17th, I almost said 15th, 17th, that audience scores at 15%. Let me zoom this in so you can see. 15%. While the critics score is still at 84. Surprise, surprise, the critics still like it. That score really hasn't moved much. I think it peaked at like 86. So, it's another day. It's a Monday, and we got another article that came out yesterday on Father's Day, basically saying the Acolyte's 15% audience score, it's embarrassing. And it's embarrassing for the audience. It's not embarrassing for the show. It's not embarrassing for Lucasfilm. It's not embarrassing for Disney. Certainly not embarrassing for Leslie Headland, Dave Filoni, and Kathleen Kennedy. I'll just throw Bob Iger in there too. So Paul Tassi, senior contributor over at Forbes, put out this article. While Star Wars has had many controversies in the Disney era, viewers have now mobilized a fleet of TIE bombers to obliterate user scores of the Acolyte whenever possible, namely on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. Yeah, IMDb, the show's getting a 3.6 out of 10. Look at the number of 1-star scores. 55.2%. People do not like this show. It's not the audience's fault they don't like it. I previously reported that this started up right at release, as the Acolyte quickly became the lowest audience rated Star Wars project besides the infamous Hollywood special. Now its former 33% score has dipped below the special 20% score, and it's all the way down to 15%. I would venture to guess it's probably even going to go lower. I don't know if it'll make 10. It's possible to make 10%, not probable. But who knows? There may be some people that tune into this abomination of Star Wars, and decide to give it a poor review, whether it be on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. But as Paul Tassi writes, at a certain point, this is just absurd, and it says a lot more about the viewers than it does the quality of the show itself, which has barely even gotten started, now just 3 episodes in. Paul, you're forgetting one thing. Word of mouth spreads fast. And as people got to hear and find out about what's in this show, just look at the trailer. The trailer on Star Wars YouTube channel has been ratioed to death. Word of mouth got out that this show wasn't very good. And Disney, as they typically do, started attacking the fans ahead of the show premiering. So don't say, well, it's barely gotten started, just 3 episodes in. The 3rd episode was an abomination to Star Wars. It retconned a lot of what we know of Star Wars. George Lucas's vision, not Disney's vision. Let's continue. No, I'm not going to entertain the debate that this is not review bombing. A 15% score is barely more than a third of the last most controversial Star Wars project, The Last Jedi. Nothing is even close except that holiday special. On IMDb, it's even easier to see. A full 54% of all reviews are 1 star, giving it a 3.6 out of 10. Well, that went up to 55.2%. Just saying. There's also how fast this happened. For instance, Ahsoka only has 5,000 reviews in on Rotten Tomatoes after being out for months, while The Acolyte has aired 3 episodes in 2 weeks and has 10,000 reviews in. The last season of The Mandalorian only has 2,500 reviews in. The beloved Andor, 5,000 reviews total years later. Well, John Trent over on thatparkplace.com, he sets the record straight. His evidence is that the majority of votes in IMDb are scores 1 out of 10, and that the show has received more reviews than previous Star Wars shows on Rotten Tomatoes. However, this does not hold water on IMDb, given as seen above. The Acolyte has 49,000 reviews in comparison to Ahsoka has a total of 115,000 reviews, Andor 169,000 reviews, and Obi-Wan Kenobi 233,000 reviews. Huh. Rotten Tomatoes had previously tried to curb review bombing in the wake of what happened with Captain Marvel's release, verifying people had watched the movie before reviewing. But there has been no way to enforce such a system with TV, so here we are. See, he's right back to what they're saying, review bombing. So if it's too far in the negative, it's a review bomb. If it's too far in the positive, it's a review bomb. So you just can't accept the fact that the show sucks. The show's poorly written. It's woke as hell. And it retcons everything that George Lucas put out in the first 6 episodes of Star Wars as far as films. So why is this happening, according to Paul Tassi? There are a bunch of dimensions to this, and none of them are good. There's absolutely a racial and gender component to this. No. A clip from Amanda Stenberg about making white people cry is shared tens of thousands of times online, taken out of context from an interview earlier about her film, The Hate You Give. Showrunner Leslie Headland has starred in many YouTube thumbnails, lambasting the woke, quote-unquote, nature of the series, but it allegedly is breaking canon. This is the main reason for the surge since episode 3 aired, where the fans believe the show has broken canon or destroyed the lore of Anakin Skywalker by implying that, like Anakin, the twins are a virgin Force birth. Anakin was conceived purely through the Force alone, part of his chosen one mythology, and now they say that's happened again, ruining everything. It's not it's not just it was a virgin Force birth. Remember, to these witches 100 years prior to the prequels, they don't believe in the Force, they believe in the thread. This was a virgin thread birth. Remember, the one mom said, I carried them, and the other mom said, I created them. I don't know. Sounds like they're rewriting lore to me. Sounds like they're retconning to me. The problem is we simply no idea if that's true, even if that's what everyone is assuming after last week. Specifically, while they say the girls have no father, it's implied that their mother did something unnatural to create them. They did. It's not implied. 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't equal 3. 2 plus 2 equals 4. It doesn't equal 5. Which would not be a spontaneous force baby situation. Dark side meddling, witch magic, cloning, we simply don't know yet. But that has not stopped fans from leaping to conclusions and saying that in 3 half-hour episodes, the series destroyed 50 years of canon. It has. Let's go to John Trent's article. Hilariously, Tassi then admits that people don't like the show because they believe it is lore breaking on a number of levels, from the way it portrays the Jedi as space cops to how it described how the twins of Osha and May were created by Mother Anisea, likely through dark and unnatural means. So he claims he's not going to entertain that it's not review bombing, but then provides legitimate reasons for why people are actually disliking the show. There's also the pushback of the portrayal of the Jedi is not great. Well, according to Alyssa McConte in her article over on Kotaku, the Jedi were always the bad guys. The Jedi aren't the bad guys. Acting as space cops, rounding up Force-sensitive kids to test and train, not by abducting them per se, but, luring them away from their families for their own good, which is what happened to Osha and sparked the events that led to the death of her family and community. No, that's not what happened. Osha did not want to go through the ceremony. Osha wanted more. Osha wanted to explore. Osha encountered the Jedi and thought, hey, you know what? I want to become a Jedi. I don't want to lie when I get tested. I want to tell the truth. So that there is not what happened. I mean, of course, the concept of the Jedi as rulers has dealt with this topic many times over the years, most famously in the prequels, where the arrogant, clueless Jedi Council's actions, or lack thereof, directly led to the Imperial takeover of the galaxy. Now, that part's true in the prequels. They were blinded. They took their time. They didn't act when they should have acted. But this here in the Acolyte, I mean, May basically told Osha, I love you, sister. And then after the testing with the Jedi, said, I want to kill you because Osha wanted to leave. I mean, come on. Now, the 15% score is embarrassing, not for the show, but for those review bombing it to a frankly laughable degree. It's not being review bombed. People do not like this show. I'm not even the Acolyte's biggest fan, as the first 2 episodes I didn't love, though I thought episode 3 was more interesting. Episode 3 was a waste of time. Besides the fact it was woke BS. It was a waste of time. But the worst Star Wars project by an order of magnitude in the history of the series, and it just so happens to be one mostly starring black women. This whole situation is a parody of the modern toxic fan base of the series, and if you want to disguise it as being upset about canon, then it shows a distinct lack of understanding of both the material of the show and the wider universe. No, it's not a lack of understanding. This was done intentionally. This was done as far as checking boxes for DEI. When the creator, writer, director, producer, Leslie Headland, former assistant to Harvey Weinstein, comes out and says, yeah, this is the gayest Star Wars ever. That tells you right there, this was done on purpose. You can critique a show, sure, but overwhelmingly, that is just not what's happening here. And it goes well beyond that. While we have seen many things like this happen with Star Wars fandom over the years, I can't help but feel like it's absolutely getting worse. Right here, Dave A., 22 hours ago, I strongly disagree. The audience is objecting to a particular group utilizing a beloved franchise and franchises to promote an exclusive, rigid, and hypocritical social agenda. It does this at the expense of beloved Star Wars franchise, its characters, storylines, and themselves. That hits the nail right on the head. John F. Trent, he ends his article with, well, it was George Lucas. In an interview, made it abundantly clear just ahead of the release of the Acolyte that Lucasfilm has no understanding of Star Wars or the Force. I was the one who really knew what Star Wars was, who actually knew this world, because there's a lot to it. The Force, for example, nobody understood the Force. When they started other ones, after I sold the company, a lot of the ideas that were in the original sort of got lost. But that's the way it is. You give it up, you give it up. So I'll leave it to you guys. What do you think about Mr. Paul Tassi, again, blaming the fans for the failure of the Acolyte? Comment down below. While you're at it, please take the time to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Share this video out there with your friends and family. And with that, I will see you guys later.